Alright guys, if you've seen the title, you know what we're doing today. Welcome to my updated strategy. We are entering phase 2 of the diet. Fat loss so far has not been going as optimal, to put it nicely, as I'd like it to be. In fact, if you look at my trajectory going forward, I am expected to come up pretty much like 8, 9, 10 pounds short of where I need to be come show day on August 13th. All of this is kind of concerning, and it means that, hey, it's time to wake up and it's time to start making some changes to the overall strategy. Number 1, brand new macronutrient and calorie target. So obviously nutrition is the fundamental driving force of any diet. Yes, training and cardio helps, but honestly, I would say 80% of the battle is the kitchen, is what you actually put into your mouth. 165 protein, 70 fat, 240 grams carbs, and 2,300, all of this breaks down to 2,300 calories. Now, I will admit, have I stuck to this diet perfectly day in and day out forever? I wish. I have had some, fluctuation, but for the most part, these were my actual targets. We are going to be doing, going forward, right off the bat, calories are dropping by over 100. We are increasing the calorie deficit. The number one driving force of any diet, Nutrition 101, is a calorie deficit. There are going to be a lot of people watching this or other places on social media, especially sometimes when people are trying to do weight loss, but they might not be as fitness science-y oriented, and they are going to start blaming everything except for this for why they are not losing weight. It's the hormones, it's insulin, it's my genetics, your chakras are out of line with the universe. It's all bullshit is what it is. I'm sorry to say this. I know some people really need to hear it. I have this example, and I'm sorry to throw this guy under the bus, but this is just exactly what I'm talking about. It's a friend of a friend, and he was a bigger guy, in high school. He was pretty much obese before he was even 18. He is terrified of needles. He does not like getting shots, injections, taking blood, none of that shit. Except in this one instance when the doctor brought up the possibility of them testing for certain maybe explanations, biological markers for why he is so large at such a young weight. And this guy was like, sign me up, doc. Let's do it. I gotta find out. Suddenly, all of those fears of needles just went out of his mind to find out that the results came back. There's actually nothing really there. Sorry to say this, you're just fat. Protein, 180 grams. We have upped the protein. This is actually one thing I really wanted to mention. I thought, and I still do, believe that a lot of people out there, the majority of people out there, from a fitness standpoint, are consuming way more protein than they really need to. 95% of people out there, even fitness-oriented people, do not need to consume over 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Unless you are some high-level bodybuilder in the final 1 month of your competition prep, when your body fat is into the single digits, you do not need to be consuming 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. It's just not necessary. Even more so if you're not cutting. If you're bulking, then you can take it down even further. That being said, that's pretty much what I did. For me, this is around 0.9 grams of protein. I'm upping it a little bit more, and there's a couple reasons for this. Number 1, I am leaner. So like I said, the leaner you are, the more muscle you have and are trying to retain, the higher your protein needs to be. And number 2, this is one thing that's interesting. Protein has a higher thermic effect of food. For those of you guys that don't know what that is, the thermic effect of food is essentially the energy your body must expend in order to break down these 3 various macronutrients. Think of it sort of like an energy investment. You need to give up a little bit to get more out. It's like starting a fire. Before you can start the fire and light the wood and get all this good heat and energy out of the wood, you first have to light a match or light a spark. You invest a little bit of energy in order to get more energy out. For protein, it's 20-25% if I remember correctly, which is much higher than carbs and even higher than fat. Fat has the lowest. I believe fat is as low as 5%. This means that almost a quarter of the energy, the calories that you get from whatever protein you eat, your body can't even you don't even get that because your body actually has to use that amount of calories in order to break down the protein in the first place, the actual protein molecules in your body. Next up, in terms of fat, we're doing 65 grams. This comes out to about 27% of my total calorie intake, which is a good amount. Usually a good range, kind of like a good rule of thumb, is for your fat to remain somewhere between 20% and 35% of total calories. 27% in my case is totally fine, totally sufficient. There shouldn't be any negative issues. When people take their fat too low, they do tend to have potential problems, not just from a fitness, but also just general health standpoint. There is this belief that completely just like bottoming out on your fat could negatively impact your ability to actually synthesize testosterone, as you need dietary fat intake for adequate, healthy, optimal testosterone synthesis. And then the remaining coming out simply 20 grams reduction from carbohydrates. Overall, the main thing you have to understand, less calories, more protein, less of everything else. There's nothing crazy, there's nothing too much to one side or the other. This belief that you have to completely buy into like one dogma, low carb, high fat, paleo, this, that, no. Just eat like a regular human being who happens to eat, in this case, a bit less calories and a bit more protein. That's it. And also one more thing, in case you guys are wondering, thinking, Igor, that's a lot of protein for a big man like yourself. How are you gonna eat all that? Are you just gonna sit there and shovel down chicken breast, tuna, and really lean steak that tastes like a hockey puck? No. Don't worry though, because my sponsor, My Protein, is here. You guys know that their Clear Whey Isolate is my favorite supplement like ever made. It's the first time I've ever tasted a protein that tastes more like a bottle of Gatorade. It tastes fruity and clear. I'm not a big fan of that really like thick dairy like gut. I'm not a big fan of it. That's why Clear Whey Isolate was a game changer when it came out a few years ago, and every year they continue to make it better with new flavors. This one is cherry vanilla cream. Tastes pretty damn good. Probably part of my my new top 3 flavor-wise. And right now, if you guys are interested, My Protein's having a big sale. It's their Impact Week sale. And when you guys use my code VITVIP at checkout, you will get yourself 40% off your entire order. So if you guys are interested and you need to stock up, check it out. Link in the bio. Factor number 2, we got cardio. So up until now, my approach for cardio has been, number 1, I do it ad hoc, which means there hasn't really been any schedule. I do it whenever I want or whenever I need to do it because I went over on my diet. So remember, my old calorie target was 2,300. So if I accidentally or purposely ate 2,500 calories that day, then at the end of the day, it's like 10:30 before bed, I would go and burn 200 calories to bring myself back down to my target. My net calorie target would be on point. And the other thing I want to mention is that 100% of it was tracked into my MyFitnessPal. What I mean by that is that, like I said, if I burnt 200 calories, I would put it into my MyFitnessPal, which would bring down my net calories by 200. Totally changing things now. Number 1, it's no longer ad hoc, it is going to be scheduled. I am going to be doing 2 moderate sessions on a weekly basis. My moderate cardio is, right now, I'm running about 4 to 5 kilometers, and I usually do so. I try to do it as fast as I can. I don't just do cardio purely for fat loss purposes. I also do it because I want to be a better runner. The best I've ever done, or at least in recent memory, was during the pandemic when I was sitting at home doing fuck all and we were all trapped. I actually started doing a lot more running outdoors because that's literally all I could do. 6 kilometers at a 5 minutes per kilometer pace. And that for me was very good. So I'm trying to get back up to that right now. That burns around 350 calories, approximately, depending on the speed, depending on my weight. And then I'm also doing 2 sessions on a weekly basis, about 200 calories of light cardio. For me, it's very simple. I'm jumping on the bandwagon. I think everyone's doing this right now. Jordan told me about, apparently there's like a TikTok cardio thing that's going viral. What do they do?
Incline of 12 and then speed of 3.
It's like a mall walkers kind of thing, just a light walking pace, except they do it on a bit of an incline. And I just do that. And it's actually like, the whole point of it is that's supposed to be like pretty decent cardio in terms of how much fat you burn without even feeling like it. And I could attest that, yeah, that's actually pretty true. Like, I would burn like 200 calories pretty easily in like 19, 18 minutes. I don't even notice it. Like, my heart rate only gets up to like 115, 120, if that. It's pretty easy. I'm just sitting there, I'm watching, I'm on season 6 of Better Call Saul, and I just like pop in my headphones, do that for 20 minutes in the morning. Really surprisingly easy. So I'm gonna be doing that 2 times a week. And the last thing I wanna mention is that none of this, 0%, is going to be tracked. In the past, in previous competition preps, I used to have a 2-phased approach. I would start at 100%, so everything you burn, you can eat back. Then I'd break it down to 50% once I started getting more serious. So you burn 200 calories, you can eat back 100, you can eat back half. That way I'm being kind of like 50% conservative. Again, because my fat loss is not that great this time around, I don't have the luxury of doing this tier system approach. We're jumping straight to like the final tier 3. We are jumping to 0% track, which means I don't care what you burn, that's bonus, that's on top of your actual diet. You get to eat none of this back. This is just part of your life. Okay, number 3 factor, training. This one I'm gonna go really quick because training actually doesn't have that much to do with fat loss, with weight loss, which is kind of like the main thing that we are talking about today. There's this belief that when you go from bulking, getting bigger, to cutting, you need to radically change your training.
Anybody wanna pump up?
What is that, like 5 pounds?
It's a 2.5. I'm not going for bulk, I'm going for tone.
That's bullshit. That's not true. I mean, I remember even Arnold, there was this one interview I saw a long time ago when they asked him, like, how do you prepare for a show? And he's like, I don't even change my diet. I just do more training. We just do more volume. We work out longer, harder, faster. That's ridiculous. That being said, one thing I am going to be doing a bit differently going forward, and I think I want to do a full video on this in the future. I am going to be focusing my number 1 goal going forward. Usually it's like maximizing strength, maximizing this lift, maximizing muscle, blah, blah, blah. This time around, as annoyingly, some of you guys might not like to hear it, it's actually going to be injury prevention. Because I have, for years now, I have just been accumulating injuries. I am like from that scene back in Yu-Gi-Oh! When Yugi made that guy lose by drawing every card in his deck. It's kind of like that. I'm him, except with all these different little injuries, whether it be the pec strain from a couple years ago, my hip adductor recently, my knee quadricep tendonitis, which I've had for years. Thankfully, none of them have been that major, but unfortunately, golfer's elbow, that's another one I just remembered. All these weird little muscle strains, and maybe it's because I'm, 30 now, maybe it's because I've been working out for 16 years. You guys have to remember, I have been working out longer than some of you guys watching this probably have been alive. It's become a little bit of a problem. And if I want to continue working out for the rest of my life, if I want to achieve my dream of being that 80-year-old guy that you see in the gym who's like working hard and making all these hard faces, even though he's lifting 5 pounds on the leg extension and then going and spending 20 minutes airing out his balls in the change room. Yeah, if I want to achieve that goal of mine and continue training for the next 50 years, then I need to kind of take things seriously and not train like a bitch like some of you guys are thinking, but more so train intelligently going forward. But again, that's a topic for another video because I can talk about this for like 30 minutes nonstop and this video is long enough. Number 4, supplementation. Every year, from a supplement standpoint, I've usually kept things pretty simple. I've even done a big deep dive analysis video into fat burners, and essentially my conclusion at the end of it was that in the majority of cases, usually they don't work. In fact, I'm pretty sure I ended that video by saying you're better off just spending $6 on a pack of caffeine pills. And that was true back then. I think that was like 2017. However, things have kind of changed a little bit. There is actually one supplement which I've heard about for years, but I've never really given it much thought or tried it because I have heard that it had unfavorable side effects. But this time around, I'm giving it a try. This one is actually yohimbine, or rauloxine. I actually got this from Derek. In 2021, back when I did that whole turkesterone experiment thing, he was actually nice enough to send me a couple bottles of turkesterone, and in addition, he sent me a couple other supplements as well You know, just kind of like as a, here you go, why don't you try some other stuff out. The way that, apparently raulousine is kind of like a derivative or like a different version of the classic oral yohimbine, I don't know how to pronounce it, whatever it is, that's been out on the market for years, that I've heard about for years. Apparently one of the ways that it works is that it's an alpha-2 adrenergic receptor antagonist. So essentially whatever that scientific mumbo-jumbo means is that it increases adrenaline in your body, and it also suppresses certain, how do you put it, regulatory processes in your fat cells, which normally kind of inhibits and suppress fat loss. It's like this thing stops fat loss. Well, this stops that. So the two cancel out and fat loss is able to proceed to a slightly greater speed or extent or whatever it may be. For me, it kind of made me feel like, number one, I was definitely warmer. It almost felt like I had a little bit of the flu because I just kind of felt my body temperature rise like half a degree, or at least that's how it felt. You did get a bit more energy. You did get a bit more like almost like anxiety a little bit. So it wasn't, I'll be honest, it wasn't the best feeling. And this is why it's something that I haven't taken up until now. And even when I did take it for the first time, like a few weeks or a month or two ago, I'm like, this is too much. I don't feel like doing it. Screw it. And I just put it back on the shelf. Until now, because now, again, I want a little bit of an extra edge if possible. Again, totally legal still. Under the WADA, the World Anti-Doping Association. Don't worry, I checked. So raulosin is the only one that I'm introducing into my body for the first time from a fat loss standpoint. And even then, I'll be honest, I'm still kind of like playing around with it. It's a tentative thing because I've already tried it a couple times this week, and I think it's working, but I'm like, I'll be honest, I don't like the feeling. I do not like the feeling. It's too much. It's too weird. I woke up, I took it with some water, and then like I was doing my little incline walking, and I'm like, what the fuck is this feeling? Like, I'm like, if this is how it feels just to do some basic incline walking at like 3 miles per hour, I can't imagine taking it and then going for an actual jog or a run or something. It might be too much. So again, this is tentative. We'll see how it feels. If I get used to it, great. Maybe I'll keep it going for like a month or two or however long I need to do. But if not, I might just drop it after a week because it feels intense. And finally, the final, and I'll be honest, the most important variable, we've saved the best for last, adherence. I can tell you guys that I'm going to eat 2,100 calories, 1,900 calories, 3.5 calories. I'm going to starve myself. I'm going to do cardio 17 times a week. I'm going to train like this. I'm going to take that. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. But if I don't actually do it consistently, day in and day out for the next 90 days, it's all bullshit. It's all just words. Talk really can be cheap. Adherence has always been the main reason why 99% of people don't lose weight. Earlier in the video, when I showed you my targets, I said 2,300 calories is my starting target. Was I actually hitting that? I'll be honest, unfortunately, no. I mean, I did on many days. In fact, I did it on most days. But the weekends come around. The special occasions come around. Date night with my girlfriend comes around. Movie night comes around. Blah, blah, blah comes around. And then I have a bad day or two. And then I finish my week off with an average intake of 2,450, 2,500 calories. Which, I'll be honest, is still not bad. And for me, I do believe that should still be a little bit of a calorie deficit. It's just not enough. Hence why I'm still losing weight. It's just not enough. Essentially, what I need to do right now, and this is a really good way of kind of describing it in my opinion, I need to go full JCB mode, which I call the Jay Cutler box mentality. This was fucking awesome. I remember Jay Cutler doing an interview where he talked about how he lived those final few months for a Mr. Olympia competition.
Everything was structured. I lived in a fucking box in order to be the best, meaning I had no outside. People would call me with their problems, I'd hang up on them. Like the phones were off. Don't bother me with negative shit.
That's pretty much what led him to being the best on the planet. And I, to a certain extent, to the best of my ability, have to kind of try to emulate that. Guys, I will be honest, we've got 5 factors in this video. The other 4 pale in comparison to this one. If you don't adhere to anything, then everything that you write down and you plan and you put in your MyFitnessPal, it's all bullshit. Alright guys, that is pretty much it for me, and this by what is now extremely long video. We got 90, less than 90 now, it's like 85-ish days left to turn this physique into a leaner physique and hopefully a classic physique.